going on, y'all? How's you guys' day going? Hope you're having a good day. My day's good. Thank you for asking. This one's going to be a bit of a hot take. I haven't had too many that I wanted to release. I've been saving this one. The only other one I've done was, I guess, horror movies. If you haven't seen that, basically I think that horror movies are garbage. And there are probably maybe a handful that actually are good in any kind of way. But this one is going to be much different from that. I wanted to come on here and talk about love and how I think that it's not, I want to say, written for everyone, if that makes sense. And it doesn't necessarily have to be spiritual or predetermined or anything like that. Obviously, love at the end of the day is a choice, right? Regardless if it is predetermined or written in any kind of spiritual way. However, I don't think that every single human being on planet Earth is capable, more so than, I suppose, actually achieving any kind of love, if that makes sense. And I hope this doesn't come across in a pessimistic way, because that's not what this is supposed to be. I obviously understand that people in the most literal sense can love each other. However, it seems as though that I don't even want to say in terms of modern society. It just seems like human beings in general, what love, because believe it or not, love is a very human thing. And it's so funny because you can see how we've convinced ourselves that love exists in the way that we think it does. But when I hear the word love and then I see it being represented in today, I always say that it's just a human thing. It's not even modern. It's not a modern thing. It's a human thing. The way that I see love being represented at all points in time in history, it has so much more to do with the evolutionary side of our brain that I feel like. And I think that what we do is we attach human, basically, like in the most simple way to put it, human, just, what word would even, like, we add our need to convince ourselves that everything is more than what it actually is. Like, for example, love in the animal kingdom has nothing to do with the actual partner that animal has chosen, right? That animal has chosen their partner specifically to have more offspring and to survive and continue. And that's it. Human beings have the same brain. They have the same instincts. They have the same evolutionary mindset in general. Everything that is going through an animal's brain when they want to have offspring and protect is going through a human's brain. The only difference is that human beings obviously have consciousness and we have free will. And so that allows us to go, oh, well, I like that person. Oh, well, I want to go, get ice cream with that person, right? When at the end of the day, your brain is just like, dude, I just want to go have kids, like right now, ASAP. Like, let's get this going already. And so, anyways, not to get off track, this isn't supposed to be a biology lesson or a psychology lesson, but it's much deeper than that, much deeper. And I struggle to find a way to frame this type of thought without it coming across as if I'm dehumanizing, really. But I mean, it is. That kind of just is the way it is, right? Because I mean, I definitely don't like viewing things in a fixed lens or a pessimistic lens. But on the same token, if something is the way it is, that's just the way it is. And I mean, I have yet to really see or hear any opposing thoughts that would make me think otherwise. That love, for the most part, not love in terms of the essence, right? There is a difference between the actual essence of love, so what it is outside of humanity, and then there's the difference of how we, human beings, manifest love. And so, obviously, I understand that love exists in its own right, where you truly devote yourself to another human being. However, even in that context, even in that perspective, I can't help but think that love is this human thing that has been almost like programmed just inherently. It's not a societal thing, it's not a social construct. It's just this need, it's this urge to give ourselves a reason to continue life outside of the literal aspects. Like I it's almost like a chain, but not a chain in terms of like it keeps you away from experiencing things. I mean a chain that keeps you attached to your humanity. I mean that really is that's the core of it. I really don't think I could explain that any deeper. Like I could try to explain something like that, but it wouldn't make sense unless, I guess, I don't know, maybe like ego death. I feel like most people that I talk to that have gone through ego death or gone through a very, very deep sense of awareness would understand. But I'm trying to think of a way to explain it in a more simple way. Because I obviously understand how niche this is, right? This isn't, well, okay. I don't mean that in a way where like, I'm the only person that thinks this, right? Like, I'm the only guy, oh no, I'm the first person to ever think this. That's not what I mean. I just mean, I understand how this can come across in a not so popular way, right? And so I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. I guess the best way I could put it into words is there is a difference between living in reality and observing reality. For most people, they are living in it. They are living in reality, and that's great. And it keeps them happy, and it keeps them sane. And, I could go on and on about all the reasons why living in it is obviously much better, right? It's basically the quote, ignorance is bliss. And so there are people like myself out there who, how do I put it? It isn't that I'm not experiencing those things or that other people aren't experiencing the thing, but that the inherent thing is not what I know it to be as a human being. Or like, I know that love has its own meaning and its own existence outside of whatever it is myself or another person might add on to it, right? Like, if I had to give an example, it would be like this. If you go and you ask people what they think love is, or rather what it looks like, 99% of people are going to give you the same answer. And even if they don't, right, even if somebody gives you a very niche answer as to what they think love is, it's always going to fall under the category of action. It's always a physical thing, right? There is no world in which love exists that action doesn't. It's a participation. You participate in it. And so, yes, you may love and devote yourself to this person. However, where my gray zone comes from, my understanding of it, or rather my curiosity, I suppose, or my lack of understanding, I should say, I can't see how you can say that, like, okay, let's put it into an analogy to make it easier. You have Group A, and Group A gets along. They're compatible, and they're happy, right? But they don't really know each other to the fullest extent, or rather, they might not have the most chemistry. They might not have the most chemistry. So, like, they might like the same band, they might believe in the same politics, they might live in the same area. Very, very surface level things, right? Very superficial things. And they get along for the most part. They argue, they have their problems just like everybody does. However, that's it. And ultimately, from an outside perspective, it kind of just looks like they're really good friends, as opposed to lovers. And then you have Group B. And Group B really, really understand each other, and even if they fight, even if they go through all the same circumstances that Group A goes through, you can see within their relationship, and you can just see within them how they exuberate the other, or rather how they pull from the other something that does not exist by themselves. So they are unlocking a oneness, right? At least that's what I believe. I believe that love it's unity. It's becoming one, right? One mind, one soul, one everything. And that it's like equilibrium, right? It's like the most zen. Everything is zen. Everything is in unison. Now, in the world that we live in, right? Just reality. Again, this is not a modern thing. Just in the world we live in, this has been a thing forever. And yet, we have never, or well, not never, but we very rarely make the distinction that Group A is not the same thing as Group B. And to call them both love, right? To say that both groups are loving each other, irrespective of the severity of their love, or rather, irrespective of the magnitude of their love, right? I feel like all that does, the fact that we can even do that, right? The fact that we can even say that both of those groups are the same thing, or rather, are aiming at the same thing, to me, I feel like that just proves my point, right? And I obviously could be wrong, and I would be open to hearing disagreement. However, because I think that way, that I guess that's my explanation. That's what I'm trying to say. That's my explanation as to why I find it so. I've talked about it before, where I've talked about how the mind is an illusion, right? I have a video talking about that. And I'm not saying love is an illusion in the sense that it's not real, or in the sense that it's something that you just, it's like, I'm not saying that it's purely theatrical, but that what it is to us, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, what it is to us human beings is it's not what it is. It just isn't. We are not capable of manifesting love to the fullest extent. There's just no way. And it's because we're human. We're limited, right? Now, because this video is supposed to be about how not everyone is meant for that, like for the romantical relationship. I just don't think that every single human being was meant to experience love in the fullest extent. I think we would go insane. And I think that there are a lot of aspects like that in life that are supposed to keep us sane, right? The mind protects us from ourselves. I believe that's what consciousness is. Consciousness is the antidote to the poison that the mind is. And not poison in a literal sense, but rather like a yin and yang, basically. That's the way that I see it. It's like you have like kind of like, how if there's good, there's evil. If there's light, there's darkness. If there's the mind, there's consciousness, right? Because without consciousness, you're essentially just an animal. But without the mind, you're what are you? I mean, I guess some would say you're the universe. Some would say that you're everything. Some would say you're nothing, right? And you're all of them at the same time. That's the funny part. But when it comes to love, though, it's not... I just don't think it's attainable. I don't think it's attainable. Like, I think a human being can do the most. I think a human being can go as far as they can possibly go. And they can go really, 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 really far. But there's a limit. And I think that for most people, the average person, what they consider to be love is more of just a really liking. Oh, I really, really, really like that person. Because, that's another thing that we don't think about. It's possible to really, 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 really like a person and not love them. There are infinite scales of liking a person, but there are not infinite scales of loving a person. Love is it's the force of the sun, right? Like it's a magnitude that goes beyond any type of comprehension or feeling or thing or experience or anything that we can experience. And so our attempts to try and reach that are very, some would say brave, some would say honorable, very human. It's a very human thing to try to do. And it's beautiful, right? Don't get me wrong. Love is a beautiful thing, and I would hope that everyone would achieve that. But there has to be the distinction. There just has to be. We cannot allow ourselves the liability that comes with that. Just as a society. Because I feel like growing up, just for everyone, it's never questioned. It's never, ever, ever questioned if you are capable of loving in the way that really means something, or that you should. I think that's the better question, or that's the better way to phrase it. It's like, should I? It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be human and to be able to say that you can not only live for something else, but that it gives meaning to your life. Because, animals don't have that. Animals only know life and death. That's it. There are no other mediums. There are no other spectrums to be thought of, or thought in general. Or at least I think so. Right? Like, the way that I think animals think is nothing more than the 7 deadly sins. I think the 7 deadly sins are the brain's evolution, or I should say inherent evolutionary mindset, or just brain, right? When the brain is in its most primal state, it's a direct correlation to the 7 deadly sins, right? Those 7 things are the things that cause you to, they are inherent urges, I should say, right? Like, every human being is born with those 7 inherent urges that cause us to continue humanity. But then, like I said earlier, there's the part where our consciousness comes in and we try to attach concepts, and we try to attach morality, and we try to attach, different aspects. And again, these things exist. There's no question of that. But the question is if it should be a participation or not. It definitely shouldn't be like a restriction. I'm not saying that there should be like, okay, this person is allowed to do it and this person isn't. This, it's definitely not one of those situations. But rather, it's a question that has to be asked. I feel like I guess that would be the best way to put it, really. Is that I feel like every human being at one point or another should be forced to ask themselves, should I? Should I love? Should I be loved? Well, okay, not should I be loved, but rather, in the most literal, romantic sense. Like, obviously everybody should be loved, but should I be a participant in that? Should I even, is that for me? Right? Like, is that for me? Is that something that I not just want, because that's another aspect, is that it love has been boiled down to a desire. And love is a, how would you say, like it's an awakening. I definitely don't think that love is something that we can just pick and choose. It's not, you don't have a choice. Not so much the same way that you have a choice to feel feelings. Like there, it's too often that you see people mistake, like, how I said, just evolutionary urges. Like, for example, every single time that you feel attraction to another human being, it's because of their most literal, primal aspect. So for women, what that looks like, obviously, strong, tall, security, he can protect, financially stable, right? He has the whole package. He can protect you, he can keep you stable, you can have a family with him, he can fulfill all your needs, right? And so your brain goes, ding, 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 have child, right? But then the human side of us goes, oh, I like him because he knows how to turn around and reverse the car really sexy. That's what we say. We say stuff like that. And then for guys, it looks like hips. What is it? Or another one for both genders is pheromones. What else? I'm trying to remember. What else? Man, something. I can't remember. I can't remember what the evolutionary urges are for guys. Just in general, I guess. Just more for guys. It's literally just I see and I want. That's it. It's so much more. There's so much less to it when it comes to guys. But anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is that it's very easy to say that you've engaged with a thing when that thing is already pre-programmed into your mind before you've even decided. You've not been given the choice. And so to say that you love a person simply because your brain told you so, or because your brain is, giving you the chemicals to think that, there is no love. That's not love. That's nothing more. Again, that's nothing more than your brain wanting to have offspring. And don't get me wrong, yes, in the most literal sense, that's how it starts, right? That is always the initial step being taken to love someone, to eventually love someone, right? Like, it's not like, oh, I had, absolutely zero urge at all whatsoever, and then I just suddenly loved him. Like, no, of course not. That's not how it works. But it's just far too often where everyone wants to just bundle it all up together, where it becomes, oh, I think that they have nice hair, they have a cute laugh, and, I love them. They're my partner, right? They're the love of my life. I want to die with them. It's like, dude, there's so much more left that you have to explore. And even then, who's to say that even in that context, like, to circle back, who's to say that group B, the group that was, truly compatible, the ones that were truly together, who's to say that it's not as much of a theatrical performance as anything else is? It would just be a better one, right? Like, who's to say that two people who are extremely connected and get along very well are not simply better at performing because of the gifts that they've been given, which would just be compatibility, I guess. Like, I guess basically what I'm trying to say is, if all it takes is the feeling and the compatibleness and the chemistry, then everybody would be able to do it, right? And so that's where the question of, I guess, at least for me, sacrifice comes into, is what you're willing to sacrifice. What you're willing to sacrifice, the same way that, what you're willing to sacrifice for what you believe in, right? That's how you know you truly believe in something, is what you're willing to sacrifice for it. And so in the same aspect, what you're willing to sacrifice for another person, that's the highest form of love that I can think of. I can't think of another higher form of love other than, I don't know, just, it really is just devoting yourself to something else. That's always been the human, what would you even say? Just human, not purpose, but like magnum opus. Like, that is what keeps us going. It's always something else. It very rarely is ourselves. And even if it is, it probably ends up being something else at the end of the day. And you know, it's like Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche says, a man can bear any how with any why. That's all you have to have. All you have to have is something that you truly, truly care about. But see, that's the thing though. That's the part that bothers me, is that for most people, the only reason why they care is because they've been told to through their brain, or just in general, through like a societal manner, right? It isn't. How often is it that a person sits down and thinks to themselves, you know, can I live without this person? Am I willing to let go of this person? What does it mean to me not to have this person? You know, am I willing to let go knowing that that's what's better for that person? Right, stuff like that. Like hard questions that need to be spoken between the two people, not just with yourself, right? I've been talking a lot about internal, but it's most definitely something that you have to talk to your other partner about. But people are so warped in their own reality that those conversations never even blossom. They never even, the thought never pops in. Never. And you know, that's for a variety of reasons, right? Outside of just love, right? Because that's a whole nother topic that I've spoken about too many times. But I don't know. I mean, because this is supposed to be a question, right? I don't know the answer. I don't know if people are, you know, if every single person is meant for love, or if every single person is meant to have one to love. I guess the only other thing that I didn't talk about was just the connotation that comes with even thinking that way, right? A lot of people, as soon as you even say something like that, people are like, whoa, why are you, how could you say something like that? Oh, that's such a cynical, pessimistic viewpoint to have, right? Like, you can't even think out loud anymore. You can't even ask questions without immediately being taken over by Mr. and Mrs. Superior morality, right? They're so much better because they don't think of those things. But it, I don't know. I don't know. That's the best part about it, is I don't know. But this video is about to be 30 minutes long, so hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought down below. Hope you have a good rest of your day.